Good evening and welcome to My Future. I'm Ruveneko. This evening we continue in our discussion around STEM, science, technology, engineering and mathematics. Now in our first segment we're going to cross over to ZimDef. We went there earlier on in the week and spoke to a number of parents who are participating in this registration process. Some parents are going there to literally register their children to become beneficiaries of the STEM program, while some parents are simply getting their slips to prove to the schools where their children are already enrolled that ZimDef is indeed financing their children's boarding or tuition fees. And basically, they now go back to the school to get their refund. The refund goes through the school account. So on the ground, it was very interesting to feel the sentiments and the thoughts around STEM from the parents themselves, as of course the direct beneficiaries of the STEM program.
I'm Mai Shinyanganya. I've got a kid under STEM. He's learning at Ellis Robbins. He's doing lower 6. He's taking subjects like maths, bio and physics. In addition with chem, but by this time he's doing 4-3. Yeah. It's nice to me, and even others who I'm telling them, they are saying it's okay. So maybe the kids are going to compete about this thing because the government is doing best.
Yes, I've got a son, Tawanda Aaron Chinenyanga, who is under this scheme of STEM. He's taking maths, biology and chemistry. The government is paying the school fees. The initiative is a noble idea, which has come to our rescue because I was just under pressure seeking for the school fees, but it has helped me a lot.
Yes, I've got a child who's taking STEM subjects. His name is Kwashe Genius. He's doing MPC, Maths, Physics and Chemistry. The government is paid. I've paid, but the government is going to refund me because we've applied for STEM and he is qualified for that.
And no one not drama STEM subject. This Sylvester Tawia. Arukuita Maths, Bio, ne Chemistry. Government ndiri kubhadhara school fees. Ndakafara ndokuti taimbowana muma-challenges panyaya ye-school fees. Saka patakongonzwa izvozvo inhangu pache zvangu ndakafara.
Okay, ini ndinonzi Rudolph Nire. Ndauyawo kunoku ndida kuti mwana wangu abhadharirwe school fees neWestern. Okay, arikuita MPC. That's mathematics, biology and chemistry. Government nje andiri kutoda kuti yandibatsira kuti ndibhadhare. Nokuti kubhadhara ndega kuri kundikunda ndiri kukundikana.
Mwana wangu anoita ma-sciences basa riri form 6. Anoita maths, chemistry ne physics. Nyaya yacho ndakaifarira zvikuru ndikazvitambira. Saka ndatoya nemufaro ndichifunga kuti edu ma-form 6 vari kuqualify. School fees yacho iri kutinetsawo kuti tiwane. Chema changu chiri pakuti mwana wangu form 6 ndanchikumbira kuti dai hurumende yakwanisawo kumubhadharirawo patemu iyo because handisikwanisa kuwana mari yacho exam yekuti anyore neschool fees yacho.
Ndine mwana ari kutora ma-STEM subjects, ari kuita maths, physics nechemistry. Takatanga kubhadhara pavakatanga form 5. Then saka pandakauya kunoregister neSTEM then batanzi tinozorefundwa. Saka ndoya ndatovinga refund yacho.
I've got a child who is doing lower 6. It's an Ignatius code by the name of Craig Jason. I've learned about this STEM and which we have applauded the government for taking this kind of initiative. In fact, this kind of project or initiative comes in as a double advantage, to our country, both individually as per child and also, as per the nation as well.
Ndine mwana wangu anodzidza pachechi high school. Apa ndakabata proof of payment yabva kuSTEM vachibhadharira mwana chikoro government. Proof of payment yacho yandava kutendesa kuchikoro kwacho. I really trusted them. People they were saying these and sort of more things. But at last my friend told me, you've got a kid in Mazoe. He told me, my friend, you just go to ZimDef offices, then ask for the form, then you can fill it. But now I'm trusting the government because they are doing the best. I've got the receipt for the kid, so it's fine to me.
Yes, I trust that it is going to pay already. It is already paid for mine. child?
Well, I feel awesome because being refunded my money after paying when I was strained, I feel great.
Zvakandibatsira ndokuti ndine vana vakati wandei vandofanira kuti ndibhadharire school fees.
Yes, I trust because they've already paid and I'm going to get my refund. So I trust they will pay.
Ndiri kunopiwa mari yangu yandakatanga ndabhadharira mwana. Saka ndio handi kunorifandwa izvozvi.
No, takafara zvakanyanyisa pamusoro this program yakaitwa iyoyi because tanga tichikundikana in most of the times tanga tichizovafosa kunoita mamwe masubjects avasingafaniri kuita nepamusana pekushaya kwedu, but nekudai kwatakaitirwa zvinhu zvese zvakatiitira zvakanaka zvakanyanya.
This is the proof of payment which I've just got, from this term, a proof of payment, of my child, Craig Jason, to St. Ignatius College. And we really applaud, this initiative done by the government, especially our Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education. We really applaud this kind of initiative.
This is the form randatobva kucollecta irori. Saka this is a positive move. Zvatontaridza kuti kwandava kuenda kwatonaka.
aiwa ndakanzwa kufara zvekuti ndakanzwa kuda government yedu kuti inotirangarirawo noti pari pamwe patinenge takundikana asi vanhu vatibatsirawo.
My plans, I'm looking for the government to continue doing the same issue to other kids.
My plans is for my child to go higher, if it's possible, to the university level with this initiative.
Actually, his wish is my wish. So he said he wants to be a pilot engineer. So I just support him in his wishes, because if I tell him what to do, if he fails, then it's my fault. So I have to support him.
Ndinovimba nehurumende yedu ende mukana wakanaka wavakatipawo nyange tatakaomerwa kunogona kuomerwa kazhinji mwana kana achitanga A-level posi pachada mauniforms nemusapota mabooks saka chirongwa chakanaka chaizvo.
I can only urge, our own fellow Zimbabweans and with their children, to encourage them, to those who haven't done this as yet, to encourage them to actually engage themselves to take this new initiative which is being given to us by the government. And also, this proof of payment, again, it also, it's a proven, a reliability and confidence in our government that whatever they plan, it comes to fruition, is proven by this payment. Because in the majority of cases, people doubt our own government, people, take it like a joke, or something that is not real. But in this instance, proven by this payment which I'm holding here now, definitely it actually gives us faith and confidence in our government, which means for those who haven't done it before, they better do that and let their children engage in this new technology, which is for the betterment of the child and also of our nation.
After the break, we hear from Dr. Godfrey Gandawa, the Deputy Minister in the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology Development, as he walks us through and answers some of the questions that were raised by the parents, but walks us through the developments of STEM and, of course, the bigger picture of where STEM will really take you as a young person in Zimbabwe. We'll be right back. Now, as you've heard from the parents that are registering their children at ZimDef, there are a number of sentiments there, generally very happy with STEM and happy that the government has offered this opportunity, not just to the children, but to the parents themselves, because honestly speaking, bearing the brunt of school fees does fall on the parents. So Dr. Gandawa is now going to explain to us why it is that one of the questions that was brought up was, why is STEM only being offered to lower 6 students and not to upper 6 students? So Dr. Gandawa, tell us why it is that this initial campaign is targeting only my Form 5 or the lower 6s as opposed to the upper 6s or the Form 6s.
Thank you very much, Ruveneko. There is always a start. When you are starting a thing, there is always a start. But we are taking them from the lower 6. And with the way the program is going, definitely we see us taking them through to A level, which means to Form 6, which means the program will have to continue. We even see as taking them to university if the situation allows.
We understand that there is a fund that has been made available. And in the last episode, we noted that there was still a huge amount of money still available for this, where not as many lower sixes as the government had intended or hoped or budgeted for have signed up for STEM. So if there's still money left over, why not now support those already in upper six who are already taking up science subjects?
The numbers that we had last week, they have since doubled. To date, yes.
Right.
We have 3,464 students
right.
that have been paid for. So we are actually moving towards our target of 4,000 to 5,000 students.
And you said you're taking up the registration up until the beginning of the second term?
Correct.
Right. Okay, so the target that you had initially wanted is about to be met, which is why you wouldn't open it up to upper sixes as well,
Sure.
basically.
Sure. We will stick to the lower 6 students who are taking the combination.
Right.
And then, there are possibilities that we will still take them up.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about taking them further. That got me quite excited. And a lot of the questions do come in saying, is STEM a short-term or long-term plan? And yes, you'll get a young person at the age of 17 entering lower 6, very excited about taking on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And then now they finish upper 6 and they don't have anywhere to go or anything to do, or the resources to pay for university fees. So tell us about this long-term plan you hinted.
The fundamental concept of this program is we are going to put up what we're calling the STEM careers. So if we identify the STEM careers that we want to increase the numbers of the students that will go into the universities or the colleges, we should then be able to fund those particular programs or the careers, the career path that they will have chosen.
Okay, good.
So we are actually working a program towards that. The STEM lower 6 students, it's just a start. But we are now going further to see how best we can prepare the human capital development for the nation.
Now, I know one of the prizes for the STEM campaign is a visit to Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
So how is that working? How is that going to work in the schools?
Maybe by the end of this week, we are now going to lay out the procedure for the competition, where the private schools and the schools that competed, as well as the students that have been registered, we will now get to the competition stage, where the procedure will be laid out. And by the beginning of next week, we should roll out the
campaign for
that. Yeah.
I mean, obviously the government picked Silicon Valley for a reason. And I'd like to hear from you, Dr. Gandawa. Why would you say Silicon Valley? I mean, it's huge, obviously. I know there's a specific focus on Microsoft. That, if you win the competition as a young person, you'll get to travel to Silicon Valley and spend some time at Microsoft. So tell us why you chose that in particular.
Yeah, it's not necessarily Microsoft, as a major successful company in R&D and software development. But in Silicon Valley, there are various STEM kind of organizations in that particular area. It's a high zone STEM area. So we are hoping that, it will motivate the students. They will see a couple of innovative companies around Silicon Valley. Yeah. And we could have chosen any other place, but we see high-tech, pure high-tech is resident in Silicon Valley.
And I guess that's where the exposure to places like Silicon Valley come in. I want to tap into, just briefly, another ministry. The Minister of ICT, Postal and Courier Services has recently just been talking about how there needs to be young people to innovate apps. Right? And a lot of young people do that. And I know that's definitely a STEM thing, all right? And they're being encouraged to develop apps that might even take over from things like WhatsApp, things like Skype, things like Viber, because a lot of our mobile networks are losing revenue, okay, because we're using cheaper ways to phone. So something like that, when we talk about, say, go and study maths, physics, chemistry, and biology at A level, do you think that the young mind understands that much? Because there's something missing in our education where they just taught theory, right? What's in the book, and they pass an exam. But is there enough development of understanding the world of science to that level?
Like, this is the beginning.
Almost like life skills,
This is like the beginning. But you will see, people will start to appreciate where we are coming from and where we are going.
Right.
But you have mentioned the Ministry of ICT and the use of, or the development of applications. It's big business. And we are saying, when we are saying people should be stigmatized, what we want to do is, like the other time I mentioned the arts and so on being stigmatized. We are going now into a phase where we want to see, for instance, even a person who is doing arts, they must be stigmatized in terms of the computer science, maths. They must be able to do regression analysis, simple kind of artistic and innovative kind of programs, which come with ICT. So I think it is the best thing even to, collaborate with the Ministry of ICT, so that we come up with even centers that will develop ICTs in our people, software development, and many other applications that we use. Unlike us getting more like international kind of apps, when we can actually develop
them ourselves, homegrown.
our own. So it calls also for us, the Ministry of Science and the Ministry of ICT, to come up with even centers, centers of excellency, where we have we set up computers, tools to enable, to allow the youngsters, to come up there and develop themselves.
Now we're talking, developing homegrown apps, homegrown solutions, and understanding STEM is not just understanding that you must take maths, physics, biology, and chemistry, and have the government, support your tuition fees and your boarding fees. It's about understanding the culture of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We'll be right back. Welcome back to My Future. I'm Ruveneko. We continue our discussion this evening with Dr. Godfrey Gandawa. He's the Deputy Minister in the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology Development. And we continue to discuss about STEM subjects, and we saw earlier on how a lot of parents are very happy with where STEM has brought them. They were, sort of filmed at the ZimDef offices, receiving that support, the financial support that has been a commitment from the ministry to say that we will pay boarding and tuition fees for students that enter STEM subjects for lower six. Now, one of the other questions that has been addressed, of course, that came through that discussion was what happens to those that are in upper six and already taking these subjects. But the minister has explained that the numbers have doubled since we last spoke. You're at 6,000.
We're now at 3,664.
3,664. And there's still so much room for more students to apply up until the beginning of the second term of this year. Now, you were at the Chinhoyi University of Technology today, and you were taking a tour around the labs. Of course, we look at resources, and we might get excited about these subjects being offered to students, but resource-wise, what did you see in Chinhoyi today?
I had gone there to inspect a consignment that came from the States. Massive laboratory equipment in biology, chemistry, and they are still to receive another batch in physics. So I just wanted to go and see how best they can set up, the equipment, so that then they are able to absorb the A-level students that are coming into the universities.
And where did this consignment come from?
They received the equipment from some company in the United States.
In the US?
In the US, yeah.
Okay, so this is one institution, and bringing it back to high school level, where these subjects are taking place now, I understand also in the competition, which will take effect later on in the year, that there will be the opportunity to win science laboratory equipment as well as an entire science lab. So looking at the country in general, how much work does the ministry really have to do? Besides the prizes being awarded certain schools if they win, how much work do you really have to do to ensure that those schools that are teaching these subjects are really well capacitated?
As a government, we have some serious work to do because the infrastructure in most of the schools really needs a revamp. So I think we have a challenge to make sure that we are able to equip, because having the students is another thing, and having the equipment matters most. So we really need to do more to make sure that our schools at least have the equipment to be able to train effectively the students that we have. But also at Chinhoyi, they are also setting up another a lab where they are going to be manufacturing, pure manufacturing, with some limited funding. They should be able to make equipment for physics and chemistry to be used in the schools. So it's
Right,
one, it's
so
one
the
project.
right, it's one project. So the university will be making the equipment that will disperse to high schools.
To high schools.
Will they be able to produce on that scale?
You know, at least it's better than, you know, not doing anything.
No,
At
100%,
least,
sure.
At least if they can start now, and if we are able then to fund those kind of initiatives.
Right.
So, you know, we are saying our scientists also in the universities must be able, you know, to produce something to be used in our schools. At least I think it's a better start that
Right.
requires supporting, yeah.
Okay, so that's maybe one solution to this problem of, you know, a lot of the high schools being purely equipped to handle STEM subjects. What then would be the plan B or the plan A or the plan C to equip these high schools?
We need to look for funding or to mobilize resources to make sure that we are able even to purchase, because we can't be making not everything that are we able to make. So we should be able, you know, to mobilize resources or funding to equip the laboratories.
Okay, so what kind of economy are we looking forward to for Zimbabwe? Right, I always like to look at the bigger picture. I mean, is there a Vision 2020? Because there's different ways to look at the benefits of STEM. It could be whether we develop one Steve Jobs in the next decade, or it could be where we completely change our model and become like India, for example, where we now actually base a lot of our GDP on what we churn out through the science and technology sectors.
It's gonna be a process. Or it has to be a process.
Right.
But there is no doubt that we have to move into the knowledge economy. And the knowledge economy driven by science, technology, and engineering. So that's the way to go. We must invest, heavily invest into science, technology, and engineering so that we are able to get there. Otherwise, we will continue to lag behind. But there is still work, a lot of work to be done, you know, to make sure that we get into, we have aspirations, you know. Currently, we are more like an extractive kind of economy, you know, labor intensive. But we need to move, you know, to where we are research and development based or a knowledge based economy. That will take time, but we must take strides to get there. With resources, we should be able to leapfrog and get up there. But if we are going to utilize the few resources that we have, then we can gradually an incremental kind of thing to get to where we want to get to. But the aspiration is we must be research-based a kind of economy. Yes.
Now, Dr. Gandawa, one thing people love to do is criticize government. Right? At this stage, there's nothing much to criticize because it's working. Parents are getting, you know, paid back. Students are getting enrolled in school under the STEM curriculum. Now, for private sector to get involved, where it becomes a shared responsibility, not for us to just look at ministry and say, they're the ones running it, everything is coming from you. Where can private sector play a role to support this and make sure it does work and that it does grow?
In most developed countries, or businesses or industry, because ultimately they are the ones that benefit from the human capital. So government and the private sector, especially the private sector, should join government in initiatives like this to make sure that they are also able, you know, to develop this infrastructure that we're looking for in schools. Or some might even chip in and say, we have enough resources to pay for X amount of students. But mostly, you know, corporate social responsibility. Organizations must be corporate citizens. And they must be able to chip in and assist government in their specific areas. You know, we can take this still up to university to say, for instance, an organization that is into mining. They should be able, or they must be able to support students in metallurgy, mining, engineering, and so on. Organizations in the electrical, in telecoms, they should be able, you know, to say, we have X amount of money to support X amount of students. So private sector and industry are welcome to partner the ministry to make sure that we take STEM forward, thereby also, you know, developing our country.
And it would be a simple process. I literally come to the ministry. If I know I have something to give and I want to get involved, maybe build a whole laboratory for a school that needs it, I come to you.
If you come to the ministry, we should be able to facilitate, you know, depending with what it is that they want to do. But there should be a way, you know, of tapping into our industries and
Right.
business, to support
Right.
higher education
Right.
for the development of the country.
Well, there you go. We all can get involved instead of just sitting and watching, right? And waiting for government to slip up or see what happens next. Let's share the responsibility. All right, well, you heard it again from Dr. Godfrey Gandawa. This is more development on STEM, where it is today, and looking more at the bigger picture. And of course, we'll continue with more of that. The conversation never ends here. If you need to know any more information, you can get more on stemstudents.co.zw. That's the website. But of course, the ZimDef offices are where you can go and register and get your school fees paid back to you, right? If you've already paid for your child for lower 6. STEM information is available all over. Get involved and understand what the STEM culture is, the STEM revolution, and believe in it. Because I'm also convinced that this might be the future for Zimbabwe. Thank you very much, Dr. Gandawa.
Thank you, Ruben.
That's it from me on My Future Tonight. I'm Ruveneko. Good night for now. Be good. And if you can't be good, be safe.
Hande machinda hande vasikana ndairai tiriyo mirizo tiriyo ingazvitenderere ngazviende mberi tiani hariye go go hande mafi unondirubisa ndikasimudza mureza nondikorokotesa nyika yabudirira unondirubisa ndikasimudza mureza